As I look back at the last 30 years of my life, I can see a track record that I have had a strong prophetic anointing in my life. Meaning that the things I see do happen. Sometimes they don't happen for a little while. I tend to be one of those guys who sees things before they happen. So sometimes I've been ahead of my time. But the one thing that I'm discerning about this season that we live in right now is that this is not a season to do business as we have done it in the past. I'm sensing that there's been a trumpet blast, and God is saying, I my house in order. I think He understands the things that we've been through. I think He understands that the journey has been long. I think He understands that as we've been on this journey, there have been some battle scars. And so I think He understands that in some respects we're battle weary. In some respects maybe a little bit skeptical. In some respects maybe tired. And I know the Lord understands all of that. And yet I feel like He's saying, this is your divine moment, and you will either step into it, or I will pass it on to someone else who will. And so I discern that this is a season to do things better than we have before. I discern that this is a season to get up earlier in the morning and make time for family, even if it inconveniences us. I'm discerning that this is a time to be more disciplined in things of our life, like our diet, like our exercise, because we're getting ready to be brought into a point where we're going to have to manage the things that God has given us to do. And if we're not in shape, we're not going to be able to keep up with the program. And so I sense that by the time we get into our new building, God's saying, that is when the healing rain is really, really going to begin to fall, when you step into that building. We don't know for sure when that date's going to be. It could be months, it could be longer. Really, I think in part depends on how prepared we are. And I have this divine sense that the more we ready ourselves, the more quickly we will get in our building. Is anybody still with me? Okay, now, I want to speak to the business person in all of you, including you guys. There is a prophetic word upon this church regarding business. And I believe that many, 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 many people in this church are not only going to step into business, some having never known anything about business in the past. But I believe that this church will be a church who cultivates millionaires who also have the heart to fund God's work. I strongly believe that. I don't believe that any person in this room is excluded from that. Now, when I grew up, my dad was always saying, son, I want you to come into the insurance business with me. And my dad and I didn't have a great relationship. Not all his fault, by the way. A lot of it was just a stubborn, rebellious, know-it-all kid, okay? But he'd say, son, I want you to go into the insurance business. And so I took a vow. I will never go into the insurance business. I don't care what happens. I vowed I will never go into insurance. But I took it beyond that. I took it to the point I vowed I will never go in business. I hate business. I don't understand business. And these are the kind of lies that I told myself. I watch my brothers make more and more money. And I become the one who is the taker in the family relationship. My brothers make the money, I take the money. They buy my clothes. Family has purchased my house for me. Family has helped me to purchase my cars. Family has funded us so we could feed our family. And I thank God that I've had them to do that. But I missed a big part of my own calling because of the vows that I had made in my past. I was small in my own eyes. Everybody say that. I don't want to be small in my own eyes. Now, it's good to be humble in your own eyes. It's not good to be small. And people that are small tend to build a world selves that is small. You tend to build a world around you where people think like you do, where you never have to be challenged, where you never have to be pushed, where you're comfortable. You tend to build this little world around you of people who reinforce the small thinking that you have about yourself. And within each of us, there is someone that is so much bigger than that little person. Someone that is capable of doing so much more than we ever dreamed of doing before in our lives. There is somebody that is this capable, and a lot of it is just learning. So many things can be learned. Business is, in many respects, now there's a natural adaptation, there's a natural gift towards business, but a lot of business is just plain learned. And as I've been studying business the last 3 years, and I've broken those old vows off of myself, I'm realizing that I'm pretty good at this stuff. That there's somebody in me who every day is gaining knowledge, gaining understanding, learning how to be the one who's not taking from people, but learning to be the one that can be the giver. Everybody say that's a good thing. Okay? Now let me say this. I'm not trying to put this thing on you where every one of you feel like you have to go out and start your own business today. You know, there are advantages in certain seasons of your life to work for other people. But I can say this. As long as you're working for others, there will always be a cap on your life. Are you with me? You will never fully reach your potential until you break free from that cap and you become the person in charge. You become the person who decides what your hourly rate is worth. Some of you only think you're worth $10 an hour. Some of you really truly believe you're worth $50 an hour. There's others that work right now. My dollar time is about $300 an hour. Now that's nothing compared to what is going to be future. But we create the cap on our life based upon what we feel like we're worth. Are you guys still with me? Now let me tie this into something and then I'm going to get into the slides here. God is trying to do something that is so much bigger than any of us are. And I've seen the pieces of this thing starting to come together. What I know that in God's mind, business is a form of intercession. Being of somebody who can influence people, being someone that has the wealth, being someone that has the contacts and runs in certain circles of influence, is a person who is more able to do more for people. Are you with me? And so it's a form of intercession. If we can keep our heart right, and we can keep our mind right, then we realize that I'm not just earning all this to become lazier so that I don't have to work anymore. I'm not earning all this so that I can have this mansion that I get lost in. And you know, we're earning it because it's to be funneled to other people. Right? That's intercession, whether you know it or not. I heard somebody say this morning, I'm not sure who it was, somebody was I think it was Laura, she was praying, she says, Lord, what you're calling me to do right now scares me. She said, I'm being called to a higher level of leadership, it scares me, but she said, Lord, I will step up into it. I'm finding out that there's a burden upon my heart to make money, and that burden it's getting heavier every day. And I'm saying, yes, Lord, I may not have thought that I was that person in the past, but I believe that you have told me now that I am. Yes, Lord, I will make a choice to rise up to a higher level of responsibility. Everybody say that with me. Yes, Lord, I will make a choice to rise up to a higher level of responsibility. So this isn't about me anymore. My company isn't about me. It's about what I can do for the kingdom of God. Now let me paint a wide brushstroke picture for you guys, because this is what God is doing. What He has shown me in the past is that the reason to make the money is to begin to fund things, and we went through a lot of those things in another slide, and we'll probably go over those things again. There's a lot of things that you can do with money that are not selfish. Okay? But But what I originally, when I started to pray about this, what I saw was I saw people creating private foundations where they were giving large chunks of money to do work. Okay? To fund things that you are not personally able to do. So if you would, if you're a business person, it could be, not necessarily is, but it could be a waste of your time to go to Guatemala when you could be doing something that's making thousands of dollars a day. But what you can do is take your money and pay for somebody to go to Guatemala who's more effective in that arena than you would be. And now you're doing double duty because you're the guy making the money or the girl making the money, but you're also funding people who are do the things that you are passionate about but don't necessarily have the time to do yourself. Okay? Are you guys still with me? Okay, so I began to see this vision started to expand, and it started to expand with Robin. She has stepped up to a new level of leadership in the last couple of weeks. Robin is part of my Level 5 Life Purpose Institute team. She is part of the first graduating class from the Life Purpose Institute. There are 7 people in the class. And we are in between the 2 phases of Level 5. The first phase is a seminar where we challenge everybody, give them the tools. Then there's a 90-day accountability period. Then they come back for the second half of Level 5 where they will do a community project to change and make a difference in the world. Okay? And Robin got this divine appointment with somebody that she does massotherapy for, and she's working on this person, and she finds out that there is this person works in the probation system. And so they start dialoguing, and Robin tells her about this program called Life Purpose Institute that's changed her life. And she says, do you think there's a possibility of us doing this in the prison system? And the lady says, yes, I think there might be. You're going to have to adapt the program. You're going to have to make it so you take out the religious terminology. How many of you know the Bible's the Bible even if you make it non-religious? It works. Okay? So they said, if you would repackage your program, I think that we can get you state funding and make it mandatory that all these people going on probation have to go through your program. Well, they got my interest. Okay? Now, I want you to see where this is going. At the same time, I've got several contacts with people who have been in the prison system, and one of them is a friend of mine who's a steel worker. He lives locally, but he's doing work in Illinois. He's, these big building projects. They actually send these guys for like a year or more where they're living away from their families building these buildings. They're the iron workers. And every week or so he flies home and sees his family. The guy's basically... And I said, Tony, what do you really want to do with your life? I mean, this is ridiculous. You're great at what you do, but seriously, you're going to spend a year away from your family to make money? I said, what do you really want to do? Well, Tony is an he came out of the prison system. And he says, what I really want to do is, he said, I want to speak to prisoners. There's another piece of the puzzle. This stuff's all starting to come together. One of my associates in the Life Purpose Institute sent me a link, and I don't know if you've read it yet, but it's this place called the Delancey Street. And if you will go to their website, you're going to see the most incredible thing that I've ever seen accomplished by human beings. Delancey Street was started with 4 ex-cons.